Be honest with me for a second. How many container plants have you lost to a missed watering? You go away for a long weekend, you get caught up at work for a week, life happens. And when you come back, there is that container on your porch, leaves crispy and brown, the plant completely gone. And you feel that familiar mix of guilt, frustration, and, honestly, a little defeat. What if that scenario simply never happened again? What if your containers were filled with plants so tough, so built for heat and drought, that forgetting to water them for a week, or even 2, was not a crisis, but just a Tuesday? What if your containers could look genuinely spectacular while also being genuinely forgiving? Welcome back to the channel, where we help you build a garden that works with your life, not against it. Today we are counting down 10 drought-tolerant perennials that absolutely thrive in containers. Plants that are beautiful, tough, low maintenance, and come back year after year without missing a beat. This is the list that is going to change how you think about container gardening forever. Let's get into it. Before we get into the plants, if you are new here, welcome to the family. Hit that subscribe button right now and tap the bell so you never miss a video. And if you are a returning viewer, thank you so much for coming back. Your support means everything to this channel. If you enjoyed today's content, please leave a thumbs up before you go. It takes 1 second and genuinely helps us reach more gardeners who need this information. All right, let's get to the good stuff. All right, let's go to the video. Containers dry out fast. Faster than any garden bed, faster than any lawn, faster than almost any other growing situation in horticulture. The limited soil volume, the exposure on all sides, the heat absorbed by dark-colored pots, all of it conspires to rob containers of moisture at an alarming rate, especially in the heat of summer when you need your containers to look their best. Most popular container plants are simply not built for that reality. They wilt, they struggle, and they die the moment watering becomes inconsistent. But the 10 plants on today's list, they were born for exactly these conditions. They are drought-adapted, heat-tough, container-ready perennials that deliver maximum beauty for minimum water. Let's count them all down. Plant number 1, Lavender, Lavandula species. Kicking off our list at number 1 is perhaps the single most iconic drought-tolerant container plant in the entire gardening world, and that is lavender. If there is one plant that was genuinely born for life in a container under hot, dry, sunny conditions, lavender is it. It is a Mediterranean plant at heart, built for blazing summers, rocky soils, minimal rainfall, and relentless sun. And every single one of those adaptations translates directly into container performance that is frankly extraordinary. Lavender produces those iconic spikes of purple, blue, pink, or white flowers above silvery green aromatic foliage, blooming abundantly from late spring through summer, filling the air around its container with that legendary, deeply calming fragrance that has made lavender one of the most universally beloved plants in human history. For compact container varieties, look for Hidcote, Munstead, Phenomenal, or any of the Levant series, all of which stay beautifully tidy in containers without outgrowing their pots. In terms of drought performance in containers, lavender is genuinely in a class of its own. It not only tolerates dry conditions, it actually prefers them. Overwatering is the #1 killer of lavender in containers, which means that for gardeners who tend to water too little, lavender is essentially punishment-proof. Allow the soil to dry out completely between waterings, and lavender will reward you with dense, fragrant, spectacular bloom production that continues for weeks on end. The key benefit of lavender in a container is its multi-purpose value. It is beautiful, deeply fragrant, a powerful pollinator attractor, a natural pest deterrent, and its harvested flowers have countless uses in cooking, sachets, oils, and home remedies. One container of lavender on a sunny porch or patio gives you all of that simultaneously, season after season, with practically zero effort. The caution: lavender demands non-negotiable drainage. Use a container with multiple drainage holes, a sandy or gritty potting mix, and never, under any circumstances, allow the pot to sit in a saucer of standing water. Root rot from poor drainage kills more container lavender than any other cause. Get the drainage right, and lavender will be the most beautiful, most fragrant, most forgiving container plant you have ever grown. Plant number 2, Sedum/Stonecrop, Hylotelephium spectabile. Number 2 on our list is a plant that manages to be simultaneously succulent tough and border plant beautiful. And that combination makes it one of the very finest drought-tolerant perennials for container culture available anywhere. That plant is tall border sedum, specifically the upright stonecrop varieties that have become a staple of low-maintenance container gardening across the entire country. Border sedums produce thick, fleshy, succulent stems with blue-green leaves that store water internally, giving them a built-in drought reserve that allows them to go significantly longer between waterings than almost any other flowering perennial. The foliage alone is architecturally beautiful from the moment it emerges in spring. Bold, sculptural rosettes of blue-green that develop steadily through the season into impressive dome-topped specimens. Then, in late summer through fall, those stems are crowned with large, flat-topped flower heads that open into rich clusters of small, star-shaped flowers in rose, pink, or mauve, deepening to burnished copper and bronze as autumn progresses. Varieties like Autumn Joy, Matrona, Neon, and Thundercloud are all outstanding container performers, each offering slightly different foliage color and flower tone to suit different container color schemes. The key benefit of sedum in a container is its extraordinary multi-season presence. It looks attractive and architecturally interesting at every single stage of its growth, from the emerging spring rosettes through the developing summer stems, the late summer flowers, the deepening autumn color, and even the dried winter seed heads that persist through the coldest months. Very few container perennials deliver this kind of complete, year-round visual contribution. The caution: border sedums can occasionally flop or split open at the center during heavy rain or in very rich, moist potting mixes. To keep them compact and upright, use a lean, well-drained potting mix rather than a rich, moisture-retaining blend. Site them in full sun, and apply the Chelsea chop, cutting stems back by 1/3 in late spring to encourage branching and a sturdier, more compact growth form that holds beautifully through the entire season. Plant number 3, Russian Sage, Perovskia atriplycifolia. Number 3 is a plant that brings a completely unique, ethereal, silver and lavender beauty to container displays that no other drought-tolerant perennial can replicate, and that is Russian Sage. If you have ever wanted a container plant that looks like a cloud of purple mist floating above silver stems, Russian Sage is exactly that, and it thrives on heat and drought in a way that genuinely defies expectation. Russian Sage produces tall, upright, silver-white stems with finely textured, aromatic gray-green leaves. The entire plant covered in a fine, silvery coating that reflects heat and dramatically reduces water loss. From midsummer through fall, those silver stems become blanketed in tiny lavender-blue flowers that create that signature, hazy, shimmering cloud of soft purple-blue color that is one of the most distinctive and beautiful effects in all of container gardening. For containers specifically, Russian Sage works brilliantly as a tall centerpiece or back of container specimen. Its height of 3 to 4 feet at maturity, giving it real visual presence and drama in large patio containers, deck planters, and entrance displays. It pairs beautifully with lower-growing drought-tolerant companions like Sedum, Catmint, and Yarrow, creating lush, layered container combinations that look professionally designed but require almost no water or maintenance to sustain. The key benefit of Russian sage in a container is the sheer length and consistency of its drought-tolerant bloom season. From midsummer right through to hard frost, months and months of that shimmering blue-purple color, with a drought tolerance so impressive that it is commonly used in median plantings, roadside landscapes, and xeriscapes where irrigation is virtually non-existent. In a container with occasional watering, it absolutely thrives. The caution: Russian sage is non-negotiably a full sun plant. In anything less than 6 hours of direct sun per day, it becomes floppy, produces fewer flowers, and loses the compact, upright form that makes it so beautiful. Cut it back hard, to within 6 to 8 inches of the soil, in early spring to encourage fresh, vigorous new growth that stays neat and upright throughout the season. In containers, use a fast-draining, lean potting mix and resist any temptation to overwater. Dry conditions genuinely bring out its best performance. Plant number 4, Catmint, Nepeta ex Faceni. Coming in at number 4 is a drought-tolerant container perennial that combines maximum softness and beauty with maximum toughness and reliability. And that plant is Catmint. If you want a container plant that cascades beautifully over pot edges, blooms for months on end, handles heat and drought with cheerful ease, and makes every other plant it grows near look better, Catmint is your answer, every single time. Catmint forms a perfect billowing mound of soft gray-green aromatic foliage that spills naturally over the edges of containers in a relaxed, romantic cascade. From late spring through early summer, it produces a spectacular first flush of lavender blue flower spikes that cover the plant so completely in soft color that the foliage is barely visible. Cut it back by half after that first bloom, a task that takes about 5 minutes, and within 3 to 4 weeks, it rebounds with a full second flowering that carries right through to fall. From a drought tolerance perspective, Catmint is outstanding. It evolved in dry, rocky Mediterranean and Central Asian habitats where rainfall is scarce and summer heat is intense, and it carries those adaptations into every container it grows in. The aromatic oils in the foliage reduce water transpiration from the leaf surface, the root system is efficient and deep-reaching, and the plant simply does not wilt and collapse in dry conditions the way so many other container plants do. The key benefit of Catmint in a container is the way it functions as a living design element. Its soft, cascading lavender blue presence, softening the hard edges of containers, tying together other plants in mixed displays, and creating that flowing, naturalistic container aesthetic that looks effortlessly beautiful and deliberately designed at the same time. For the spiller role in container combinations, Catmint is in a class of its own. The caution: if you have outdoor cats, be aware that Catmint, while less potent than catnip, can still attract feline attention. Cats may roll in or sit on your containers, potentially damaging plants. Protect newly planted Catmint until it is large and established enough to handle some feline enthusiasm. Also, site your containers with Catmint out of heavy foot traffic areas where the foliage might be repeatedly brushed or stepped on, as physical damage accumulates over time and affects the plant's appearance. Plant number 5, Yarrow, Achillea millefolium. Number 5 is a wildflower legend that has been thriving in the world's driest, hottest, most nutrient-poor environments for thousands of years, and it brings every ounce of that toughness to container culture with spectacular results. That plant is Yarrow, and it is one of the most colorfully versatile, most genuinely drought-proof perennials you can possibly grow in a container. Yarrow produces flat-topped flower clusters in a rich spectrum of warm colors: vivid gold, bright yellow, cream white, hot coral, soft salmon, rich red, and beautiful pastel blends, held above feathery, fern-like, aromatic foliage that is itself beautiful and textural in the container long before the flowers appear. Varieties like Moonshine, with its rich sulfur yellow flowers and silvery foliage, Paprika, with its flame red blooms, and Saucy Seduction, with its deep rose pink color, are particularly outstanding container performers. The drought tolerance of Yarrow in containers is truly exceptional. This is a plant that evolved in rocky hillsides, dry meadows, and gravelly soils across 3 continents, conditions that would quickly kill most garden plants. In a container with a lean, well-drained potting mix and a sunny position, Yarrow can go 10 days to 2 weeks between waterings in moderate summer temperatures without showing any stress whatsoever. In hot, dry climates, it is virtually unkillable once established. The key benefit of Yarrow in a container is the incredible warmth and color richness it brings to hot, sunny container displays, where cooler-colored plants often bleach out and fade. Yarrow's warm golds, corals, and reds positively glow in full sun, getting richer and more intense as the heat builds through summer, giving your containers a vibrant, sun-kissed energy that is uniquely their own. The caution: Yarrow can become floppy in overly rich or moisture-retaining potting mixes and will not perform well in shaded container positions. Always use a lean, well-drained mix and full sun positioning for best results. Deadhead spent flower clusters promptly to encourage continuous bloom production through the season, and divide container-grown Yarrow every 2 to 3 years when it starts to look congested and less floriferous. Plant number 6, Agastache/hyssop, Agastache species. Number 6 is a plant that is absolutely having its moment in the gardening world right now. And once you discover it for your containers, you will completely understand why. That plant is Agastache, also known as hyssop or hummingbird mint, and it is one of the most extraordinary drought-tolerant container perennials currently available. Agastache produces upright, aromatic stems topped with dense, bottle brush-shaped flower spikes in a spectacular range of colors: vivid orange, electric coral, rich purple, deep blue, rose pink, and stunning bicolor combinations that include the wildly popular Kudo series and the breathtaking Ava variety with its long, rich purple spikes. The flowers are tubular, perfectly shaped for hummingbirds, and they bloom from midsummer through hard frost in a continuous, non-stop performance that outlasts almost every other drought-tolerant perennial on today's list. Agastache's drought tolerance is deeply built-in and genuine. Most varieties are native to or bred from species originating in the hot, dry, high desert regions of the American Southwest and Mexico, where rainfall is scarce, temperatures are extreme, and only the most drought-adapted plants survive. In containers, those desert adaptations translate to a plant that genuinely thrives in hot, dry conditions, produces more prolific flowers under mild drought stress than under generous watering, and bounces back from wilting episodes with impressive speed once water is reapplied. The key benefit of Agastache in a container is the extraordinary wildlife spectacle it creates season after season. Hummingbirds discover Agastache containers with almost supernatural speed, often within days of planting, and return repeatedly through the entire bloom season to feed on those nectar-rich tubular flowers. Pair that with the constant activity of bumblebees, butterflies, and native bees, and your Agastache container becomes the most dynamic, most alive, most endlessly entertaining spot in your entire garden. The caution? Agastache needs excellent drainage and full sun to perform at its absolute best in containers. In heavy, moisture-retaining potting mixes or in partially shaded positions, it can become leggy and prone to root rot over winter. Use a gritty, fast-draining potting mix and position in full sun for maximum drought tolerance, bloom production, and plant longevity. In colder climates, zones 5 and below, treat it as a tender perennial and bring the container indoors before the first hard frost, or purchase fresh plants each spring. Plant number 7, Salvia. Salvia nemorosa. Number 7 is one of the most consistently recommended, most reliably beautiful, and most genuinely drought-tolerant perennials for container use, and that is ornamental salvia. A plant that delivers polished, professional-looking container displays in blazing heat and dry conditions that would devastate most other flowering plants. Ornamental salvias produce dense, upright spikes of intensely colored small flowers in rich violet purple, deep cobalt blue, warm rose pink, and pure white. Colors that hold their saturation and vibrancy even under the most punishing summer heat. The most popular garden varieties, Maynite, Caradonna, East Friesland, and the newer Bumble Blue and Sally Rosa series, are all outstanding container performers that combine striking color with compact, tidy growth habits perfectly suited to pot culture. In containers, ornamental salvia behaves with the kind of drought toughness you would expect from a Mediterranean origin plant. The aromatic, textured leaves reflect heat and reduce water loss. The root system is efficient and well adapted to the limited soil volume of containers. And the plant's flowering mechanism is remarkably robust. It continues producing flower spikes even under moderate drought stress, maintaining its visual performance when other container plants have long since thrown in the towel. The key benefit of ornamental salvia in a container is its re-blooming capacity and its exceptional tidiness. Unlike plants that bloom once and then become a maintenance challenge for the rest of the season, ornamental salvia rebounds from each deadheading or cutback with a fresh flush of new flower spikes, giving you a continuous, polished, densely colored display from late spring right through to the first frost of fall. The caution: ornamental salvia is committed to full sun and will not deliver its best performance in containers that receive less than 6 hours of direct sunlight per day. In shadier positions, it blooms sparsely and becomes leggy and open in form. Also ensure your container mix drains freely. While salvia handles dry conditions with ease, it dislikes sitting in waterlogged soil for extended periods. Sun, drainage, and the occasional cutback to encourage reblooming, those 3 things are all ornamental salvia asks of you in a container. Plant number 8, ice plant, Delosperma cooperi. Number 8 on our list is a plant that looks so bright, so vivid, and so completely dazzling in a container that most people assume it must require a lot of care to look that good. And they are completely, wonderfully wrong. That plant is ice plant, Delosperma cooperi, and it is one of the most spectacularly drought-tolerant, low-maintenance, visually striking perennials you will ever grow in a container. Ice plant is a low-growing, mat-forming succulent perennial that produces an absolutely breathtaking carpet of brilliant, daisy-like flowers in shades of electric magenta purple, hot pink, vivid orange, bright yellow, and pure white. The flowers are intensely, almost artificially vivid in color. They seem to glow and shimmer in sunlight with a brilliance that stops people in their tracks. And they bloom prolifically from late spring through summer. sometimes with a second flush in fall, covering the plant so completely that the foliage is hidden beneath a solid mat of blazing color. The drought tolerance of ice plant in containers is quite simply legendary. As a succulent, it stores water directly in its thick, glistening, cylindrical leaves. Those water reserves allowing it to go weeks between waterings without any visible stress. It evolved in the dry, rocky, sun-baked regions of South Africa where rainfall is minimal and drainage is extreme. And in a container with a gritty, fast-draining mix and a blazing sun position, it is completely in its element and performs at an extraordinary level. The key benefit of ice plant in a container is its ability to deliver completely disproportionate visual impact for the level of care it requires. Place a single container of ice plant in full bloom on a sunny porch step, a garden wall, or a patio table, and it will be the most commented on, most photographed, most talked about container in your entire outdoor space. That level of visual drama from a plant that practically takes care of itself is an extraordinary value proposition. The caution. Ice plant has two absolute non-negotiables in container culture. Number one, full sun. It needs at least 8 hours of direct sun per day to bloom prolifically. In less sun, it flowers sparsely and develops weakly. Number two, drainage. As a succulent, it has zero tolerance for wet, waterlogged soil. Roots sitting in moisture will rot rapidly. Use a cactus or succulent potting mix, ensure the container drains completely after every watering, and never allow the pot to sit in standing water. Meet those two requirements, and ice plant will deliver one of the most spectacular, drought-tolerant container performances you have ever witnessed. Plant number 9, Coneflower, Echinacea purpurea. Number 9 is a beloved native wildflower that most gardeners grow in beds and borders, but whose drought tolerance, container adaptability, and extraordinary multi-season performance make it an outstanding choice for large container culture that far too few gardeners have explored. That plant is coneflower, Echinacea purpurea, and in the right container, it is absolutely magnificent. Coneflowers produce those large, bold, daisy-like flowers with the iconic raised, spiky orange-brown centers, typically in rich, rosy purple, though modern varieties deliver white, yellow, orange, coral, and stunning bicolor combinations that work beautifully in container color schemes. They bloom from midsummer through early fall in a long, generous season of bold color that holds up remarkably well under summer heat and drought, far better than most other large-flowered container perennials. Coneflower's drought tolerance in containers is driven by its deep, thick taproot, a natural water storage organ that allows the plant to draw on moisture reserves deep in the potting mix even when the surface soil is bone dry. In a large, deep container, 15 gallons or more, that taproot has room to develop properly and provides the plant with genuine drought resilience that smaller or shallower containers simply cannot support. The key benefit of coneflower in a container is the extraordinary wildlife value it brings to even the most urban patio or balcony setting. The flowers are a critical late-season nectar source for bumblebees, butterflies, and native bees from midsummer through fall. And if you leave the spiky seed heads standing after bloom, goldfinches and other seed-eating birds will discover them and pick through them on autumn mornings, creating a beautiful, living wildlife scene right outside your door. The caution: for container culture, coneflower absolutely requires a large, deep container, a minimum of 15 gallons and at least 14 inches deep, to accommodate its taproot and support strong, drought-tolerant performance. In smaller containers, the taproot becomes constricted, the plant becomes more drought-sensitive, and flowering is significantly reduced. Also, water deeply and infrequently rather than shallowly and frequently. Deep watering encourages the taproot to grow deep and develop the drought reserves that make this plant such a spectacular container performer. Plant number 10, Black-Eyed Susan, Rudbeckia fulgida, Goldsturm. And rounding out our list in style at number 10 is one of the most award-winning, most universally celebrated, and most reliably beautiful drought-tolerant perennials available to container gardeners anywhere in the world. And that is Black-Eyed Susan, specifically the legendary variety Goldsturm. If there is a more dependable, more golden, more container-worthy drought-tolerant perennial than Goldsturm, the gardening world has not found it yet. Goldsturm produces an extraordinary abundance of bright, golden yellow daisy flowers with those deep, velvety brown-black centers. Flowers so warm, so sunny, and so boldly cheerful that they seem to generate their own light on overcast days. A single established container of Goldsturm in full bloom can carry dozens of flowers simultaneously, creating a dense, glowing mass of golden color that reads beautifully from across a yard, a street, or a garden. For container drought tolerance, Goldsturm is outstanding. Its compact, fibrous root system is highly efficient at extracting water from the limited soil volume of a container, and its slightly rough, hairy leaf surface reduces water loss through transpiration under heat stress. It blooms from midsummer through fall, one of the longest drought-tolerant bloom seasons of any perennial on today's list, maintaining that warm, golden display week after week, even through the hottest, driest stretches of summer without flinching. The key benefit of Goldsturm in a container is the sheer warmth and positivity its color brings to any outdoor space. That rich, saturated, warm golden yellow is one of the most universally welcoming and mood-lifting colors in all of gardening. It flatters every architectural background, pairs beautifully with virtually every other container color, and creates an immediate sense of abundance and vitality in any container display it is part of. The caution: Goldsturm can be susceptible to powdery mildew in humid climates with poor air circulation. To minimize this, choose containers that allow good air movement around the plant. Avoid overhead watering, and water at the base in the morning rather than in the evening. In humid climates, applying a preventative fungicide early in the season can keep the foliage looking clean and healthy right through the peak of summer. Also, divide container-grown Goldsturm every 2 to 3 years to refresh vigor and maintain the dense, floriferous performance that makes it such a spectacular container plant season after season. And there you have it, 10 extraordinary drought-tolerant perennials that absolutely thrive in containers, delivering spectacular color, structure, and wildlife value season after season with a level of water efficiency and forgiveness that will completely transform how you think about container gardening. Thank you so much for watching today. We genuinely appreciate every second of your time, and we hope this video gave you a whole new perspective on what your containers can look like and how easy they can be to maintain when you choose the right plants for the job. Go fill those containers with something tough and beautiful. If you found today's video valuable, and I really hope you did, please give it a thumbs up right now. It costs you absolutely nothing and it makes a huge difference in helping this channel grow and reach more gardeners who are looking for exactly this kind of practical, beautifully presented plant guidance. And if you haven't subscribed yet, now is absolutely the time. Hit that subscribe button and tap the bell icon so you never miss a single video. We create content regularly covering everything from drought-tolerant gardening and container design to wildlife gardening, native plants, and seasonal how-to guides that will help you garden smarter, more sustainably, and more beautifully every single season. We will see you in the very next video. Until then, water less, grow more, and as always, happy gardening.